Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining me at the table. Tonight, we have a pre-recorded interview with Kenny Hess, a member of Brooks Run United Methodist Church. Tonight's broadcast is titled Don't Give Up. Kenny has a great story. At the very end, he will tell you, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. It's fascinating. I knew Kenny prior to this interview, but I know him oh so much more now after this interview. But before we begin the interview, I do want to remind you that it is pre-recorded. I will be watching the comments on Facebook, so if you have any questions, I will see them. Or if you have any questions you would like me to ask Kenny, he's standing by. I can text him real quick and ask him a question while the interview is playing. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Also, wanted to remind everybody that we're probably going to be doing this every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. I think that's going to be our standard time going forward. Also, though, we are going to be having some special occasions throughout the summer where I might just pop up somewhere and start interviewing people. So be watching for that. It won't be on Wednesday nights. Some of them might be pre-recorded and played on Wednesday nights, but sometimes you might see something pop up on a Tuesday or a Thursday or something like that. So just be keeping an eye out for that, a little special tidbit every now and then. We don't have any special questions tonight, but I did want to bring to everybody's attention because as I was watching one of the previous videos, it kind of looked like this backdrop. It kind of blends in like maybe it's not real. I just want to show you it's very much real. In fact, take a look at this magazine that's been sitting between me and the person I interview every night, every Wednesday night, Table Talk. So just a little tidbit that I thought I'd share with you. The books do come out of the shelves. They are very much real, so it's not just a backdrop. Okay, well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play the interview from Friday night, May 31st, with Kenny Hess. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, well, we have tonight joining us at the table, Kenny Hess. Kenny, thanks for joining me at the table tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Big fan of the show, big fan of yours.
All right. Well, very good. I'm glad to have you here, and got a couple questions prepared for you
Absolutely.
to ask everybody, and to ask you and to answer for everybody, and we'll just see how the things go.
All right.
So, first question I got for you tonight is: when did you come to know God?
Well, whenever I was probably about 5 years old, my parents, they would take me to church,
Okay.
and for Easter and Christmas, and I was under the impression that that's the only time people went to church was Easter and Christmas. And then as I got older, I started attending church on a regular basis, probably around 2013, and it made a big difference in my life.
Good, good. Was it Brooks Run that you started going to?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, that's where I was married, and I believe it was Pastor Van that married me,
Mm-hmm.
and I started going there on a regular basis, and later on, I'd say a year or two later, that's whenever I really, God had spoken to me and told me, hey, this is what I want out of you,
Yeah.
which really changed my life.
Good, good.
It's amazing.
So, what would you say is the most significant thing God has done in your life?
Probably that. I'm well over halfway through with my life, so to speak, and only He knows.
Yeah, right.
And but I mean, I never was closer to the Lord than I am now, and it really shows because I've changed my life completely, and honestly, everyone accepts me for who I am now. I mean,
Good.
a lot of my friends, they do stuff that I don't do anymore, but they don't, judge me in any way, shape, or form, and I like that.
That's
and,
good.
And it just, my life is so much better now than what it was previously.
Okay, so you kind of already answered my next question. I was going to ask you is your life better or worse or not different at all since you came to know God?
Oh, 100% better.
Yeah.
100% better. And prayer has a lot to do with it because it used to be I would attend church and, it was almost like I was going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And, in a roundabout way, God spoke to me and he said, hey, you need to start, quit going through the motions and believe and live what I say. And I never really knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he didn't, come right out and say, hey,
Sure. Yeah.
You have to feel it spiritually. And, it took a while. Just like the conversion of whenever I became a Christian, there was a time whenever I was at work and I used to ask the Lord to get me through one day without cussing.
Okay.
Because, I did have a temper. And so it was hard. It was hard to get through one day without, saying something that I wasn't supposed to say. And it took a long time. And when that day came, I didn't realize it because, I wasn't saying, oh, wow, I didn't cuss today. It just over a period of time, I realized, I haven't been saying anything bad in a while now, and I could not tell you to today what day that was or whatever. And but I mean, he is amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
And I'm glad you put it the way you did, because I know a lot of people sometimes will try to do things on their own. I've got to do this for God. You actually ask God to help you get through one day without cussing.
Absolutely.
That is important, because when you ask God for that help, He's going to give it to you. But when you try to do it on your own, say, I cannot cuss today at all. I got to do this for God. You're going to fall. You're going to fail, because we can't do it in our own strength. So you found strength in God that way by asking Him. That's really good.
And that led into other things, because not only, did I ask God to get me through that day, but there's been so many other things that I've asked Him for, over the course of whenever we started this relationship and to today. And when I ask Him for them things, of course, sometimes there's an immediate answer, and then there's other times where it's a prolonged time. It may not always be the answer that I want.
Yeah.
But I am answered in some way, shape, or form.
That's good. That's really good. So since you started going to church and became a Christian and changed your life, is there anybody in your life at all that treated you differently, like either good or bad?
Well, it's a good question. Not really.
Everybody just seemed to accept it?
Yeah. Everybody seemed to accept it. And now, whenever I first started going to church, I was still going in places, like clubs and that and people wouldn't. They wouldn't necessarily say, "Hey, I heard you." What's the term? A Bible thumper,
Yeah,
whatever that kills me. but they don't say, "Hey, I heard you this and that," and they accept me for who I am. And then over the course of time, I just fell out of that. Where God led me in a different direction to where I really don't. I don't go. I haven't been in a bar in forever, and I just don't do that anymore. My relationship with God and my family and my work come before anything else.
Okay, very good. So for the people watching tonight, if any of them are questioning, am I ready to make this change or not? Do you have any advice for them? Anything good or bad to say to them?
Do it now.
Do it now.
Do it now. Yeah, I mean, I don't hesitate like I did. Whenever I first started going to church, there was times that I literally had to force myself to go to church because there was so many times where I didn't want to go, and then now I get up and I can't wait to get to church, to hear your sermon. And I've told you before that there's so many times that whenever you're reading your sermon and whenever you're talking, I feel as though you're talking to me, you know, and it's God's power through you telling me, it's amazing. Once you get to a certain level, you'll know that you have that relationship with
Yeah.
God. And the biggest thing I can say is, don't quit. Don't quit. You know, if you go to church a few times, you know, keep going. Keep going. Say your prayers. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, some long drawn out prayer, you know, asking him for this or that. But I mean, just talk to him, and because it's one on one with you and him. It's with no one else. And I always say my prayers whether I'm in public or not. I might not say them out loud.
Yeah, sure.
But I have that relationship now where I'm not embarrassed to, you know, bow my head in a restaurant or whatever.
Sure.
And I'm accepted for that, you know, and that's I hope that's fine with everybody.
I think that more people accept that than do not accept that. And I think if more people did that, like out in public in a restaurant, it would change things, because I know there's so many people that want to, but they're just shy about doing it, thinking, oh, so everybody's going to be looking at me. But when I see it, I'm very grateful. And I've even gone up to people and said, hey, I noticed you were praying. I'm really happy to see that. You know, and sometimes it starts a conversation. Sometimes it's like, get away from me. But you never know.
Right.
But
right.
it is good that you do that, because if more people did that, we could spread the word by our actions more than we can our words.
Yes.
So our actions, praying in public or whatever, is going to make a difference for people.
Absolutely.
So
I remember, if you remember where the old Ponderosa was in Bridgeport.
yeah.
Okay. I came out of there one day, and I forget what day of the week it was, but I didn't look like I came from church or nothing. I had blue jeans and a T-shirt on, a rock shirt or whatever, and there was a gentleman come up to me, and he said a few things to me, and he asked me about God, and I said, I believe in God, and I said, every once in a while I'll say a prayer, and he goes, would you be willing to pray with me right now? And I said, sure, I would, I'd be honored, and we prayed right there, and there's people that were walking out, walking right by us and everything, and at that time I thought to myself, and this was years ago, I thought to myself, what are they thinking, or they think that we're a bunch of crazies, a couple crazies. But now I look back on that and I'm like, I would do it 100 times over, because it doesn't necessarily, matter what anyone else thinks. And what matters is that relationship with God.
Right. So you mentioned God speaking to you, and when did you come to realize that He was speaking to you, and that you knew that it was Him? How did you come about that?
Well, whenever I would say whenever I started going to church more often, and it was on a regular basis, and I started praying more and more, and it was Pastor Van that told me that your sins will always be forgiven, and I always felt guilty for what I've done in the past, and for things up until then, and so I started praying more, asking for forgiveness over and over again, and then the Lord pretty much told me that I've been forgiven, and not everything was a direct result, but there was a result, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's been many a times I've prayed where I didn't have a dime to my name, and my checking account was close to being negative. And I've prayed. I said, "Just Lord, please, just get me through this. You have the power to do whatever you want to do." I said, "Please get me through this." And then later on, whenever I prayed, it turned into, "Lord, you know my situation. I know you'll get me through this.
Yeah.
I know you'll get me through this, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
So your faith was developing over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What made a big difference in my life, another thing, was when I was baptized.
Okay.
When I was baptized, just it's hard to explain, but just
I
this
understand.
warming,
Oh yeah.
this warming came over me, and it was recorded by someone in church.
Okay.
And they put it on my timeline, and I see that every year.
Oh, okay.
And there's times it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
Because I love that. That's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I was born again.
Yeah.
And that I was never baptized. If I was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that was a big part of my life. My parents had been passed. My mother died in 2008. My dad died in 2013, and I was baptized shortly after that. And and that's another thing that kind of led me to God, was through the passing of my parents,
Mm-hmm.
because then I didn't have anybody to fall back on,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to, grasp life, the reality of life, and that's whenever I'm sure that that's God's plan. That's
I'm
the
sure
way He
it is too.
wanted it to be. I just wish my parents were here to see me the way I've changed from what I used to be.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure they would be more than happy.
Yeah. That's great. So has there ever been a time in your life when you were angry at God?
Well, probably when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I was younger, when of course it's when things go wrong.
Of course, yes.
And with I can't think of anything in particular, but I'm sure there's times that I've lost people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I do remember one time I was in the shower, and I lost a loved one, and I can't think of who it was, but I just started crying in the shower, and I was telling the Lord, why are you doing this to me, and I can't do that now.
Mm-hmm.
I have too great a relationship, and everything's for a reason. I know that's kind of cliche.
Cliche, right?
Yeah. but I mean, it is. It's what the Lord wants, and He knows what's going to happen. I don't.
Right.
And everything happens for a reason. The cliche again.
Right.
But when He took my parents, I knew that they were. It was their time.
Yeah.
When He takes me, there's nothing you can do about it. And but that was probably, I wasn't really mad at Him, but just hurt.
Sure.
And
Probably wondering why. Sure. Yeah.
Because I'm I don't have the wisdom to know what He has in store for my
Right.
life.
Right.
So now I thank Him for everything, the good and the bad. I thank Him for, because it's all for a reason.
That's wonderful, because you really show your faith in what you're saying, and I'm really impressed. I've known you for several years. I did not realize how strong of a faith you really had until I talked to you tonight. So I'm really glad we did this.
Thank you
I got
so
one more
much.
question for you.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Sure.
Just bear with me on this one. Sometime into the future, a few months, the Cleveland Browns play the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Who's going to win?
I'll tell you what. I may ask the Lord about that and see what He says.
That's good.
Either
That's
way,
good.
it's a good thing.
It's a good game too, right?
It would be.
Yeah.
It would be a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm a big Cleveland Browns fan, so that's why I brought that question up. But
Oh yeah. We talk a lot of football together.
Yeah, we do.
When
We
we're
do.
not talking about God.
that's right. That's right.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What did you know? I'm sure you did, but did you know that Shakespeare may have been involved in the King James version of the Bible?
I did hear that. Yes, I didn't know if it was true or not, but I have heard that before.
Did you hear about? Did you ever look into the number 46?
Yeah, I've heard this too, and I can't remember Is it Psalm 46?
It is. It
Psalm
is.
46, yeah.
Yeah, it's Psalm 46. And I knew this when I was probably, I think I first learned it from a friend of mine when I was 25. He would always dive into these unexplained things and little hidden gems in rock and roll music and stuff like that. And he would tell me, he told me about the Shakespeare. He was like, whenever Shakespeare, I believe he was born in 1564.
Okay.
And I believe the King James version was finished in 2000, or I'm sorry, 1611.
That was the original, yes.
Okay,
1611
okay.
is correct.
And they said that he might have had something to do with it. He was 46 years old whenever that was finished.
Yeah, I guess he would
Okay.
be, yeah.
So you go to Psalms 46.
Okay.
You count from chapter 46 words down.
Okay.
And you end at the word shake.
Oh.
Then you go to the end of the chapter
Uh-huh.
and you count 46 words backwards. You end up at spear.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's kind of coincidental, isn't it? You know?
So that's probably only in the King James version, though.
Only in the King James
Yeah,
version,
yeah.
yeah. But I mean, they said that he may have had something to do with it. You know?
I believe that.
So and a lot of his plays, you know, go back to
Oh,
the
sure.
Bible,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you can see his faith in a lot of his plays, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think he only lived to be, was it 51?
I'm not
Something
sure.
like that, but very smart individual.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, well, do you have anything else you'd like to say to everybody tonight?
Say your prayers. You know, keep your faith with God. Believe in Him. Don't give up, because it'll get stronger. I thought, you know, I was going to give up and, you know, this isn't working. Boy, was I wrong. Because when I started praying more, I started developing that relationship with Him.
Mm-hmm.
And my number one advice would be pray more and don't give up, whatever it takes. Because I didn't give up. And I didn't mean to leave this out, but I had a colonoscopy done. I did what's called a Cologuard.
Okay, yeah.
And
That's
it's
the new
supposed to be
thing.
like 99 point something% accurate. And they said the only way you'll have to get a colonoscopy is if your results come back positive.
Okay.
They did. They came back positive.
Oh.
And so I had to go get a colonoscopy. And I was worried sick. And that's when I kept praying every day. I asked the Lord, you know, please get me through this. Let it be maybe a polyp or something.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know I'm a little overweight, and but I said, please let it be something that I can, you know, take care of. And I went and got my colonoscopy. They couldn't find anything, you know. And that Cologuard's supposed to be 99 point something, you know, accurate.
Yeah.
And so it just shows you the power of the Lord.
Absolutely.
You know? Don't give up. Say your prayers. And if you think you're going to give up, say them twice a day, or just don't give up. That's all I got. That's all I can say is don't give up.
That's good advice. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, Kenny, thanks a lot for coming out tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was really good. And if you have any questions for Kenny, he's not going to be live when we air this, but go ahead and put them on Facebook, and I will answer them. And I'll be able to contact Kenny and get some answers for him. Just don't say anything bad about the Chiefs.
That's right.
All right.
Okay, take care.
All right. Thank you, Kenny. I don't want you to give up, because God has a plan for all of us. No matter what's going on in your life, don't give up. I happen to have just such a terrible time tonight with this technology. You're probably all sitting there saying, oh man, I can't hear him. No, I didn't turn the microphone on. But it's on now, and I came back. Hopefully you're joining to watch this. If not, you'll see it at the end. But you know what? Ever since I started this, the enemy has been trying to make me fail, trying to tell me, nobody likes this. Nobody's going to watch this. You're no good at this. You're making too many mistakes. And you know what I say? God's got this. I just started up another live video just so I could do this because I want to encourage all of you who are watching and now can hear me as well. Don't give up, okay? May not have ended the way it was supposed to, but that's okay. You know, I'm laughing about it because God's got this, okay? No matter what's going on in your life, things are going bad with your job, you know, family issues, whatever it may be, car trouble, financial problems, I don't care. Don't give up. Look at Kenny. That man has a great relationship with God. He could have given up many times. There's a lot of things that I'm sure he didn't tell us. We all have a past, okay? But he pushes through. He prays. He wants to know God. He knows God better. And look what happened to him. He's a wonderful person with a wonderful relationship with God. We can all have that. And, you know, I'm actually kind of happy that I had that little sound issue because now the words are just flowing. So we're going to go a little longer tonight. What I'm going to do is take that previous broadcast and I will tie it into this one so that it's one continuous video. I'll repost it in the group in case you want to see it continuously. And I will also post it on YouTube so that you see the continuous flow. So next week, I'll be back here at the table. I'm not going to have any interviews. You're just going to have me, but I got some good things lined up for you. I'm going to tell you how this all got started, and you're going to be blown away by it. I'm still blown away by it. It was definitely a God thing, the way this all started. It's amazing. And I'm going to give you a little exercise to do next week, a little bit of homework, if you will. But until then, let me also let you know that we have live Bible studies Tuesday nights, and they start at 7 p.m., also on Tuesday nights from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock at the gazebo in the park across from Belair First United Methodist Church. We gather there, Ian and I, anybody who wants to come, ask any questions, just a time of fellowship, time to just have church outside the walls. No music, no Bible reading or sermons. It's just sitting there fellowshipping and talking. So that's from 6 to 7 on Tuesday nights. We'll do that until it gets cold. Bible study will continue through the end of June, then we'll take a break, maybe start up again in August. These particular shows will continue to go on. As you see, I'm labeling them season 1, episode whatever. I don't know how many episodes there will be in season 1, probably a lot. But there will come a time when I'm going to want to take a couple weeks off maybe to recuperate a little bit, and then we'll start season 2. But this, give me your feedback. I really liked what I'm doing. I hope you enjoy it as well. I hope you join back in to see this part after the little technical difficulty, but hey, I didn't give up. I'm here again. So, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next week at the table.